How much can you give away at this stage?
I can give loads away, I think.
But we're going to do it anyway.
We're going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Hi guys. So here at KE we believe that the best adventures are built by people who live and breathe them. So today we have Mark, who is our head of product, and Mark has led expeditions across the world, and I thought I'd get him in today to hear your story.
Okay.
So welcome.
Thank you.
So Mark, you were born and raised in the Lake District. Did growing up here set your life of adventure in motion?
Yes, definitely. So from a very early age, I was out doing stuff with my mum and dad and my sisters. So we were, camping and walking and climbing and cycling and mountaineering and doing all sorts of things here and, and then when we were a little bit older, heading out abroad, heading up to Scotland. And so, yeah, did lots of stuff. Yeah.
And you spent over a decade leading expeditions around the world.
Yeah.
How did that career actually begin, and where did it take you?
So it kind of began. So I always wanted to be be like a mountaineering and climbing instructor, and work outside and work in the outdoors. And so I worked when I was from like 16. I worked at the climbing wall in Kendal.
Nice.
As a kind of general dog's body, and then I worked as a climbing instructor and progressed kind of through there, and then was taking people out climbing outside. And then really it was from working there I was I was exposed to people that were guiding and people that were leading trips overseas and doing stuff in the UK as well. And so a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, was the one who sort of introduced me to the idea of leading overseas expeditions. And so he sort of put me in touch with a company that he worked for. And so then I led my first proper overseas expedition to Ethiopia, and then the rest followed from there. And I've led trips on every continent apart from Antarctica. I've never been there, but yeah, so all over the world, and various different things. So mainly focused on trekking and climbing, mountaineering, but also ski expeditions as well, in Norway, in Svalbard, and in the Arctic.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you've climbed 6,000 meter peaks.
Yeah.
And been on polar expeditions. Which experiences pushed you the hardest, either like physically or mentally?
Yeah. So there's a balance of physical and mental difficulty with both of those types of expedition. So climbing a 6,000 meter peak is very different to like skiing across Svalbard for 11 days. But they both have their challenges. So physically, both are physically demanding, but in different ways. So dragging, very heavy pulk, and again, over a certain number of days with little sleep, is quite difficult and mentally quite taxing as well. You're kind of like in the white room for days on end. And the same with 6,000 meter, or big mountains. Big snow mountains are difficult from a physical point of view, just acclimatizing. But then also for me, it's not just a case of, I do that stuff. I've done that stuff kind of personally as well, but also it's quite taxing because I'm looking after people.
Yeah, that's a good point actually, because it's not just you and your own experience, is it? It's making sure everyone else is having a good time and is safe. And...
Yeah, exactly. So there's a balance of like it's an expedition. It's quite a serious thing. A polar expedition to Svalbard's quite serious. There's polar bears, and there's the cold and everything else that's kind of against you in a sense. I don't really feel like that it's against you, but it's something that you've got to deal with. And the same for big mountains. Lots of things to contend with there, that we have to be conscious of, and so there's a high sort of sense of looking after people's safety while on these trips, but at the same time the they're on holiday.
Yeah.
Like it's a holiday.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of give them that enjoyment as well. And so really I guess that is, yeah, stuff can be physically demanding, but you always, when I was leading sort of full time, you train and keep yourself so that you are far above where you need to be to lead that trip. So you're not never struggling on a trip,
Yeah,
like
you've
physically.
always got like extra fuel in the tank.
Exactly.
Like, to probably double what you need.
Yeah, exactly. So you're never struggling in that sense because you need to have reserve in case you have to, in case you have to, I don't know, be up for 18 hours or whatever. Yeah, but mentally deciding on how the expedition should go and deciding on whether people, your clients, have the ability to do what it is that they've planned to do, and being able to tell people sometimes that they don't. That's that's the challenge, really. I guess that. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
No, I like that. This is probably not going to like this, but is there a moment from your years leading expeditions? Has there been a moment that has stayed with you the most? Almost that's a big question considering all the places you've been.
Stayed with me the most.
Yeah. Like when you think back on that time, is there always like, does your mind immediately go to one specific location you went to, or one group that you led, or one particular year?
It's interesting because I guess, I have a whole heap of stories of like, almost like daring do.
Yeah.
And sort of close run things, both from a leading expeditions and that could be multiple things like, having a client on a school expedition in Peru that disappeared off into Cusco and got really drunk and we couldn't find him for ages.
Yeah.
Like that was quite a, that's a memory, quite a challenge. Or it could be someone being, I had to, on Elbrus, this guy, so Elbrus, the highest mountain in Europe, which is in Russia. But this guy we were on there and I kind of kept checking him and he basically succumbed to a bit of altitude sickness, not really sure what, but it was when we were on the sort of summit day, so I had to put a rope on him and short rope in kind of like on a tight lead basically all the way back down again. So that's kind of memorable, and there's quite a lot of that sort of stuff. Lots of that. But really the memorable stuff is like there's kind of key sort of points in time that I remember, which may only be very short, and it could be key points in time of like a sense of, could be a sense of smell and sight and sound, or someone that was there. So like I can remember very key point of being in Norway and skiing across the Hardangervidda, and we had a big group, and a friend of mine was also leading on that group, and I was coming up at the back. I think someone was a little bit sick, so I said, it's okay, I'll take your pulk, which is the sled that you carry. So I had 2 pulks, so they're a little bit slower than everyone else, which was fine, but I had my headphones in, and I sort of skied around this sort of bend over this like lump, and then all this mist came in. And just as I kind of came over and all this mist came in, Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd came on, and it was like the most surreal sort of skiing that I've ever done. That's very memorable.
That's quite cool.
Yeah.
That's like a scene from a movie that you've just like laid out there.
That's good. Yeah, that's one. And then also that same friend Jamie, we were in Svalbard and we were setting up we had clients and we put them all in the tents and they were all sort of, drinking hot chocolate and being merry and stuff. And it was a pretty stormy, quite severe stormy day. And we were putting up our polar bear perimeter fence, which is like a metal posts with flare gun cartridges fixed on each of the posts, and then a trip line between. You have to make sure that they're quite tight. Anyway, because it was this storm, it like just kept pinging off. And I remember Jamie saying something like, "No one back home has any idea what we do."
Yeah. Like they can't comprehend like the ins and outs
Yeah,
of
and
your
it was
job,
like,
really. Yeah.
like this. That's very memorable.
That's quite cool.
So lots of bits like that.
Yeah.
And you know, and I do have all of those like, oh yeah, this happened to this guy, and you know, illness and I've never really had anything that's been particularly bad for a client or myself, like injury wise. But a few kind of scrapes and things.
Yeah.
But those, there's like key moments that are quite.
Yeah, I like how like specific they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
key
quite cool.
kind of memories. Yeah.
And now you're the head of product at KE.
I am.
How did that come about? It's quite different to what you used to do.
It is. So I did all that guiding stuff, all that work, all that leadership stuff, and I still kind of keep my hand in with a little bit of that, less international.
Yeah.
You know, international expedition guiding, but instruction, mountaineering and climbing instruction here in Scotland. And so I did that, and I worked for lots of different companies, and I worked abroad. So I lived in Tasmania for a little bit, and then I lived in Kenya for a little bit, working for a company that worked for the British Army, and then I also worked for another company, and I ended up buying that company, and I then worked, more sort of office based, but still led expeditions. And basically, because I've got 3 boys, I've got a family, and at the time I had my son was quite young, but I was away quite a lot doing trips, and so I kind of just progressed into being, I can be more office based and sort of plan a lot more of these trips than actually just leading them all the time. And so, in a kind of through a roundabout way, I eventually ended up, there was this job that was free for me to sort of apply for, so I did.
I think it's quite nice. I feel like that's quite a natural progression for people who work in the outdoors as well. When you do have a family, naturally you want to be here with them, but at least you still get to do something that is still very much connected to the outdoors and what you used to do. Which kind of leads me to my next question, which is, obviously it's quite nice that for KE, the adventures are made by people who've had such adventurous pasts. Do you think that benefits the holidays in any way, or sets us apart?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's sort of, it's pretty crucial really to what we do, and particularly what we do within the product team, and everyone within KE really. Everyone within the company is very active in what they do, and some people, their background is a bit more like mine. But what my background gives the product is it gives like that full flow from the planning stage all the way through the delivery until the end. It's the full package. So I can, so in my mind, it's very much set on, because of, over a decade of leading, I can envisage exactly what things are like, on the ground. And a lot of other, in a lot of other companies, that isn't the same. That isn't the case. That
they've not had that
just
lived
doesn't
experience
happen.
of seeing the product play out.
Yeah, exactly. So the planning and the ideas and the strategy can all be great. But actually, what happens is quite important to understand what that is. And so so I think that being very passionate about doing the things that we sell, and being very passionate about activities that are similar to some of the things that we sell, because we are here in the Lake District, is vitally important. And we're very lucky and very fortunate to be based in Keswick, because we're one of very few adventure travel companies in the UK that actually is in an area where you can do you can do all of the things that we sell. We can't do safaris with lions, but we can do mountain biking and we
Yeah.
can do running and mountaineering and all of the different things, because we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we are very lucky for that. And actually, you're about to start running adventure training school weekends.
Yes.
For KE customers here in the Lake
Yes.
District. What can people expect from that? How much can you give away at this stage?
I can give loads away, I think.
But we're going to do it anyway.
We're going to do it anyway. So because and it's been something that I've thought about for quite a long time, because I used to do this sort of stuff. So the idea is, of the training weekends, I'll give you the idea. The idea really is that we sell a whole host of different trips, over 360 different trips around the world. And some of those things might be quite challenging.
Yeah.
Some of them are very challenging, and some of them are what I would refer to as, very aspirational trips. Aconcagua, let's say, highest mountain in South America. Or it could be something that's not so, I don't know, well known.
Yeah.
The challenge could be whatever it is that you have. It could be Everest Base Camp, let's say, one of those trips. And the thought process behind it is, some people, I know that some people do aspire to do these things.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily, at the moment, they either don't necessarily think that they can, or aren't really physically, emotionally, and mentally prepared to do that thing.
Yeah.
So the idea of the training weekends is to help get people along that path. The other thing that the training weekends are for is to kind of give people a little bit of an idea of some of the things that they can do before they do their trip.
Yeah.
So the training weekends will be two different types. There'll be one that happens in winter up in Scotland.
Nice.
And that'll be for, the more winter trips where you need to use crampons and ice axe. And so there'll be quite a lot of the technical side of...
And Scotland's a perfect place to do that.
Yeah, Scotland works perfectly because there's not that many other places that you get the same bad weather that you get in Scotland. So if you can manage yourself on the Cairngorm Plateau, you can manage yourself anywhere, really.
Yeah.
That is the case. It does work. So that's the idea of those ones. And then the summer ones will be more on the trekking side of things. And it's a little bit, it's a very relaxed environment, so that people can learn, how to, what kit to pack, and there'll be briefings on the actual trip that they're booked onto. And there'll be time spent outside, in the hills, walking, how to use trekking poles properly, how to pack a rucksack properly, movement skills. Because a lot of it is, a lot of the things that people end up struggling with is actually moving for, on a trek, moving for that amount of time over that sort of terrain. And whilst we can't do, weeks of sort of physical training, what we can do is we can look at how to actually move.
Yeah.
And the idea of that, again, is so that people are more confident to go on their trip, and feel more prepared to do that trip.
And it also just makes them have a nicer time, I assume, as well. 'Cause
exactly.
these are going to make you feel more comfortable in that situation.
Yeah.
Instead of jumping straight onto the trip and then learning, I don't know how to do these things.
Yeah.
You will know, and you can go and have a better time.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
exactly. And hopefully as well, there'll be, on these training weekends, there'll be people that you're travelling with.
Yeah.
So you get to meet the people that you might be travelling with. That's the other the other benefit to it, really. And you'll be, the summer ones will be here in the lakes, and like I say, the winter ones will be up in Scotland. But you get to meet people that have done the trip or understand it, people in the office.
Yeah.
And so we can talk at length a lot more about what actually goes on the trip. And so yeah, that's the training weekends. And there'll be, kind of, the idea is that there's going to be 3 different options, I guess you could say. So one will be, some training weekends will just be included in the cost of a trip that you book. So the training weekends will also be reduced if you've booked a trip, but that the training weekend isn't included necessarily. And then the training weekend, if you've not booked any trip at all, will be something that you can book independent of any trip that we sell. And that would then be a case if you booked, the trekking training weekend, and you come along to that and you have a really good time on that, and you're like, I'd quite like to do, I don't know, the Tour de Mont Blanc next year. Then we'll then we'll then be able to discount the training weekend off the Tour de Mont Blanc. So that's
really good.
That's
it
the
might
idea.
give people the confidence then. Like, I like that it's not also just part of a trip, because some people might need that stepping stone to go and do it, to then be like, no, I can do this now.
Yeah.
So it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds exciting.
Good.
And then for anyone who's sitting at home
Yeah.
and has dreamed of a big adventure like the ones that you've done,
Yeah.
but they haven't quite taken that plunge, do you have any advice for them? Any wise words?
Any wise words?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the wise words, the thing that I've found is that with almost anything that you want to do in this realm, in what we do, that like you can the main stopping point is definitely the head rather than the physical.
Yeah.
So and I think that what part of that taking that plunge, is one, just to book and just go.
Yeah.
And actually it'll probably be okay. Like, that's good advice. It
Commit
will probably
before you have time to worry about it.
yeah. Like it'll be all right. And that's really why those training weekends are there as well, is because you can, if you're a little bit unsure, come and join one of those, and hopefully we can inspire, but also offer advice that maybe do this first. There's logical progression that we can do within our trips to take someone from not doing very much in the outdoors, to very much walking, very much adventure travel, to doing something that's one of our more advanced kind of trips. There are different trips in the way, it's stepping stones to get to that point. So if you have a goal, then you have to kind of break it down like that. If you want to do something massive, and you're here, then you can't just go straight for it. You need to take logical steps to get there.
I like that. Very pragmatic advice. And then bringing it back to you.
Okay.
Is there an adventure still on your list that you've not ticked off?
Yeah, lots of things that I want to do. Some of them are secret. I'm
intrigued now.
Some of them are, something I want to do. I'd quite like to do, and I don't know if I ever will, but I'm intrigued by it, which is it is possible to ski from the Mediterranean across the whole of the Alps to Vienna.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd quite like to do that. Now it wouldn't be in one go.
Yeah, would you do it in sections?
I'd do it in sections, I've read a few things of people doing this. So you do like a week a year for 10 years.
Okay. I quite like it being a decade-long journey.
Yeah. And so you dip your ski pole in the Med.
Yeah.
And then so that would be cool.
It would have to be the same ski pole though. I feel like you'd have to make those ski poles last a decade for it to feel like a whole journey.
Yeah, that's true.
So you need to invest in really good ski poles.
Really good ones, yeah. That would be good. I've thought about that. That would be something quite cool to do.
Like that.
How's that? I mean, the list is big.
This could be like a 3-hour-long video.
Yeah, the list is pretty big.
Okay, we'll go with that one.
But
that's a cool one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, thank you for answering the question today,
You're welcome.
Mark, and sharing about yourself. I hope this has inspired your next adventure.
Bye.
Bye.